Looks like just about everybody's voted. I'm going to close this poll and share it. So it looks like we've got a lot of CEO Juice users here. Thanks for your attendance. Okay, James, I'm going to turn it over to you. James Davis is the president of Tech AnyWare. I'm Charles Irwin with Tech AnyWare. I do the business development here. James is going to introduce all the panelists on here today and kind of kick us off, and we'll get started.
Great, thanks, Charles. I really appreciate you taking your time to be with us today. We have a lot of attendees here representing many of our finest customers, the forward-looking, the most efficient. We're excited to show you this new product because we really think it's going to add a lot of value to your service organization. We have on with us right now from Tech AnyWare, we have Charles Irwin, who's going to be doing the presentation. We also have Brandon Wicks, who's responsible for building this product. This is his brainchild. And also on with us, we're excited to have our good partners, CEO Juice. We have Mike Kirkpatrick and Gary Lavin on with us. And, you know, most of you, well, about half of you anyway, are already familiar with CEO Juice's services. They add tremendous value to organizations by providing key information in the field in the form of alerts and other workflow processes and value-added services there to help the dealers as well. And we've partnered with CEO Juice on this particular product because we really feel that having the information in the field is a key ingredient to a manager's success in service. We also have John Balter here, who's one of our best customers and is going to provide some sort of operational feet on the ground perspective as we go through this. So once again, thanks for your attendance, and I'm going to turn the time back over to Charles for the demo.
Thanks, James. Again, welcome everyone. We're really excited we've got a record crowd here today, and we're really grateful that everyone took their Friday, whatever time it is where you are, to join us. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you just a few PowerPoints to kind of set the presentation up. And then we're going to actually go through a demonstration. Then we're going to look at the CEO Juice alerts that are part of Remote Service Manager. And John Balter is going to take us through that. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. If you can type your comments in, then Gary and Mike and team will answer your questions. So here we go. Remote Service Manager, it's a web app. It uses the latest web technology. And what you're going to see today as we go through the product with Brandon and his team is you're going to see the harbinger or the precursor to what the new version of Remote Tech will look like. We call it RT20. So you'll get a little bit of flavor of when we re-engineer the Remote Tech interface. So in terms of infrastructure, those of you that are using Remote Tech, you've got it installed probably on a separate server. When you install Remote Service Manager, it'll install on that server. If you're not a Remote Tech user, have no fear. You can still use Remote Service Manager. It's not dependent on Remote Tech. It's a completely separate product. And since both products go in and query and work with the eAutomate database, Remote Service Manager is going into eAutomate just like Remote Tech does. So laptops, tablets, Androids, smartphones, iPhones, any of those devices will work just fine. And our little short elevator speech for this product is take the dispatch console to the field, because we want to give you the ability in the field to easily access your information. So in my little sample mythical service organization here, I've got a service manager. In your organization, it might be called something else. Gus is our service manager. John is a supervisor. Daniel's a supervisor. And then these technicians are working for them down here. And since many of you are using remote tech, then your techs will be using remote tech down here. The R means that this company would be a prospect for remote service manager for these 4 people, because down here, Ann, one of our technicians who's running calls, she's also got a couple of other techs that she oversees. So in the hierarchy of this, what I'm going to be showing you is that Gus Pike can see all of the service calls, all of the people, the equipment, and everything else below all of these people. And as we go down in the organization, when John logs in, he can see his team, Ann can see her team, and vice versa for Daniel. Okay? So 2 things to, some people are very visual. If you can take away anything from this, one is no VPN. Some dealers won't even let their supervisors have VPN access into Automate. So we're going to eliminate that problem. And we're introducing search to this product and giving you a powerful search tool to find your information. So it's going to be a little bit different thing that you've been used to from products from Tech AnyWare. Okay? All right, so I'm going to use my browser today to get into the product. It very easily runs on a smartphone, tablets. Since it's new web technology, it sizes itself to the screen. There's not a scroll bar at the bottom. So whatever device you're using, it sizes just fine. Okay? Now, AnyAutomate, all of you that are eAutomate users, you've got a eAutomate user ID, so you'll use that same user ID to log in here. So I'm logging in as Gus, the service manager. So when Gus logs in, we default, and we wanted to give you a view that you were somewhat familiar with on the dispatch console. So we default to all the open calls: dispatch, schedule, pending, and on hold. This is called a filter. This is a group. So by default, this is what you see. So Gus sees all of the techs and managers in the organization. We've got Esther here. She's not available. So as I scroll down here, he sees the entire team. Okay. Now Gus can also, he might want to look at these calls in a different group. He might like to look at his in a due date order. So the number in the circle means how many calls were due on Christmas Eve. Okay. So when he opens this, he can drill down into the call. Now, I'm going to log in as John, the supervisor, in just a minute. And I'm going to do a lot more in there. But while I'm here, I just want to show you that once you get to the call, then you drill down in it. And here Gus can see all the information. He can see who called. He can see the customer. If he's on his smartphone, he can tap the phone there and call the customer, email the customer, get a map, or go to their home page. Here's the equipment, the primary tech, and we see here that this tech is on site and he's entered some materials already. Okay. Also, you can view this by different statuses here. He might look at this in a dispatch, see who's dispatched. Looks like we don't have many people working today. I guess it's Friday and everybody's off. He can look at it by pending. So different filters, he can look at it. Okay? The other thing, since Gus is a service manager, he might want to go up to the reports. We've got a couple of reports here. The first is calls at a glance. And this is available in 2 views. One view is technician, and one is by status. So Gus can quickly see some percentages for his entire organization. So we looked at the top of the dispatch console and decided to instead of raw numbers, have some percentages for you here. So here are all the techs in the organization. And each one of them, we can tell exactly. Elaine's got three calls scheduled. We've got a parts available and a parts on hold. Here's a bad sync. We didn't have the part. Okay. He can also look at this by status. So real quickly, out of all of his technicians, he's got 2 people dispatched. Probably not a good thing. He's got some people scheduled. They're thinking about going to do some work. And we got a lot of people pending. Just gives him a quick glance or an overview. So he's out in the field today. He's out visiting people. So he's using his laptop, tablet, smartphone remotely to get access to all this information. He can also see service statistics. For today, we've had a little bit of activity today. So here's Mikey. He had 1 call. And then we can go back and look at different time frames. We can look at last month. And this is shown by tech. So the objective here for this product is we will be adding other reports here so you can get access to these eAutomate and other reports while you're in the field. So Gus, he's seen what he needs to see, so he maybe calls John and Daniel, the other supervisor, and tells them to get some people scheduled and dispatched. But we're going to log in as John here. He's the supervisor. So when John logs in, again, he just sees the people in his organization. Okay. So John's driving down the road. He's having a great day. Everything's going great. But he gets a call from a customer who's slightly upset. And the guy doesn't give him his name, company name, or anything. He just starts talking that your guy was supposed to be here. He's not. And John says, well, what's the problem? He says, well, we've got blanks. If you'll notice as I start typing, the rest of these calls start disappearing. So we're searching. So when I get to the blanks, all the rest of the text go away, and it just shows this one text. We've immediately narrowed it down to Mikey, okay? So this guy's still screaming in his ear, and he says, well, what's the problem? He says, well, your guy was supposed to have been here, and he's not. He drills down into the call, and he's departed, so he knows he's going to be there in a few minutes, okay? So he can drill down here and see exactly what's going on with the call, okay? And actually, the tech, being me, made a mistake this morning, everyone. I didn't arrive him in remote tech, so forgive me for that. Pretending he was arrived. So he tells the customer, hey, he's there working. The guy says he's not there. He said, yeah, he's up on the 3rd floor outside the supplies room and personnel. The guy says, I still don't think he's there. And he says, well, I know he's there because he uses this remote tech product, and he's already entered some materials. He's put a drum in the machine. So I tell you what, sir, why don't you go up to the 3rd floor and introduce yourself, and maybe be a little nicer next time. You could probably leave off that part. So anyway, the customer hangs up. So the point is that John's been able to quickly see that his tech's on site. He doesn't have to call the tech, where are you, and then call the customer back. The other thing he can do, he can take his finger on his smartphone and touch this phone icon and call Mikey, who's up on the 3rd floor working, and say, hey, by the way, this caller is on, Floyd Adams is on his way up there. Straighten up your tie. He'll be there in a few minutes. So hopefully everybody's happy. So this just exhibits the way that you can quickly go in there and find out where your technician is. Okay. Now, while we're here, let's look around to see what else you can see in this service called 1280. One of the first things you can do, for those of you who use notes, and I know many of you do, you can go in and look at the notes on the service call. In this case, Lynn, the dispatcher said, Lynn, their controller, would like to speak to you before you leave. Okay. So in remote tech, the technician can go in and read this and even give a response, which would show up here if he had, to what he had responded to. You can also see other notes. You might see the equipment note. The model is a popular thing to see. And again, all of this is coming out of the Automate. Okay. So let's go down to the equipment while we're here, and let's see what's going on with this equipment. So we've got some icons. This little icon is for calls. So if I click this, this is going to show all the calls for this piece of equipment. Okay. And so you can look at all calls, schedule, pending, just like I was doing when John first logged in. Okay. So if you're looking for a particular something on a call that maybe had something to do with paper, you could start typing in PAP, and it would find PAP, which is paper right here. So it's doing a full text search of all of this, so you can quickly find the information that you need. The other thing you do, you might want to look at parts used on this piece of equipment. If you click search here, it'll show all of the parts that have ever been used on this piece of equipment. Once you're to one of these parts, if I drill in here, then it'll go into the service call. So if you'll notice with this product, there is form to the product, but once you get in here, you can kind of go where your interest or curiosity leads you and go look for information as you see it here. So if you're looking for a particular part, okay, you can type in MAGE, and it'll find the MAGE in Image Runner, and it'll find the MAGE in Magenta. So again, it's doing a full text search. Okay. So we're back to where John started here. He's, again, happily driving down the road. So he gets a call from another customer, and he pulls off to a safe location, of course. And the customer says, I'm calling from Area 51. He says, yes, what can I do for you? He says, well, you guys are supposed to be out here today at 4:30, but we're having a snowstorm down in southern Utah. So we're going home early. But could you get somebody out here in the morning? John says, sure, we should be able to do that. So he goes in, and what he wants to do here is just schedule Howard for in the morning, and he might change this date to 8:30 a.m. Okay. All right. Now here, you can also, this one was scheduled, but you can also change an estimated date if it wasn't scheduled yet. But we're just going to leave it on scheduled, and then we're going to send an email automatically to the technician. So he's going to get an email saying that he's been rescheduled. Well, Howard had a little problem. He didn't tell anybody that he wasn't going to be available. He's trying to get his income taxes done, right? So he immediately calls his manager, John, back and says, hey, boss, I can't take that call in the morning. Sorry, I didn't tell anybody. He says, okay, well, we'll see if we can work around it. So John says, well, I'm going to give it to somebody else. Well, first of all, he can't give it to Esther. Okay. And Julianne here is not available. But backing up a minute, if your dealership has got a lot of techs, right, in this team, you could just start typing in Julie here, and it'll find Julianne. Now, Julianne works down in southern Utah, so John knows he wants to give her this call. But she's not available. John had gone, or somebody had gone into the automated and put her out on vacation. So he knows she's not available, but he says, well, I wonder who can take the call. So she's not available, but we do have a backup for her. It's Josie Pye, okay? So he can easily just send an email, and that's going to send an email to Josie. And then he'll be presented with that email. So now it's been reassigned to Josie. So earlier I reassigned it from Howard to Josie. I reassigned it from Josie back to Howard. And so you can kind of see these emails are going out to the techs. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit about working with the calls. The other thing that John or any of the managers can do is they can go in and just go straight to the customer here. And they may, if they click search, it'll show all the customers. But if he's looking for something to do with aliens are here, he'll find Area 51 Expeditions. So he can quickly find the customer. And he can click this, get a map, look at all their service calls. If he is driving out in eastern Utah and he wants to visit a customer, the Dinosaur Research Foundation, and he doesn't really know where they are, he can click the map here, and it'll bring up a map of where this customer is. So he can easily find out where that customer is located. But before he gets to the call, of course, he could drill in and see all their previous calls, see any notes, see all the equipment they've got there, and see any parts history. So hopefully by doing all this, he'll be armed and ready to go to talk to that customer. If he looks for equipment, if he's looking for a bank, and the only thing he can remember about this bank is they've got a detached drive-through. So he can type in search, and it'll find this piece of equipment based on the location here. He can type in the first 4 digits of a serial number, and it'll find the equipment that way. So you can see here we've got a nice search system here for you. Now for technicians, those of you that've got a lot of technicians, or even if you don't have a lot, let's say you wanted to contact a tech, and the only thing you could remember is where you thought he lived somewhere in this town called Midvale. So it finds Josie here, and yes, he lives in Midvale, Utah. So if you need to call him, you just take the phone, or you could go up and look at all the service calls that this technician had ever had. You could search for calls, look at technician notes, and then you look at all the parts that this technician had ever used. Okay? So that is a high-level overview of the product, and hopefully I've showed you some of the searching, what you can find, and also some transactional capabilities in there. So now I'm going to turn, I'm going to turn my allotted time over to my colleague, John Balter. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right.
And if you'll just go up there and log out and log back in as Ann, you'll be set.
Hey, James, or Charles, can you keep it on your screen, and then I'll just give me mouse control?
Okay, all right. Just one second.
So if you guys have any questions at this point, it's a great time to ask, and we can answer a few. I've seen a couple come through. You know, when is this available? It's available now. There's a couple. Is it an additional license? Yes. It's being used by a couple different people.
Okay, John.
All right, can you share your screen? We're still seeing it. There we go. And did you give me a keyboard and mouse? Yep.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, so I'm going to log in as Ann here, and we're going to show you the new hybrid piece between CEO Juice and the remote manager. So the only difference that you can see that changes is right up here in this top corner. We have this little triangle with an exclamation point in it. Now, one of the big things with CEO Juice is that when you're getting emails all day long, and so we all have tons of emails already. Now we've got more emails. Why don't we put those emails in a different location, put them in a different place? And so what this is going to do is it's going to give you a queue that you can now work with those alerts instead of having to get them as an email. So instead of having an alert sent to you as an email, now you can get them in a queue that's live, and then you can work through that queue as you go throughout your day as a manager. So as the service manager, you get a whole bunch of different alerts, and I know the first question is some of this going to be pushed out to remote tech? The answer to that question is yes. This functionality will also be moved into remote tech down the line. But at first, right now, it's in the manager side, so in the remote manager. So I've got a couple different alerts here. I've got alert 1, dispatch but not arrived. It tells you right here, you know, what the alert is looking for. And then I see I only have one of those alerts. Hey, Charles, I'm fighting you for control here.
Sorry.
I'm going to beat you away from the keyboard in a second. All right. So once I click on it, I can see what the alert was for, and I can say, okay, you know, that's the action and everything. And then if I want to, I can click on it, and it's going to now drill into the call itself, so I can see what's going on with that call and see, you know, the estimated time. All the information is right here. You know, I can find out what's going on with the call. I can call the customer by clicking on the little button. Same functionality that we saw before now is able to be put into one big piece together. So seeing those alerts allows me to act on them. Once I've decided I'm finished with that alert, I can check it off, or I can delete it. So like, you know, dispatched on, you know, on site after hours. So I've got a tech that's dispatched after hours. I can see what's going on there. This is to watch to make sure that if I have a technician that's working after hours, maybe he's really not working after hours, maybe he just forgot to close his call, I can then call that technician and deal with that. Once I've done that, I can either mark it off that I've read it, or I can just delete it out, get rid of it completely out of my queue. It's going to ask me, do I want to delete it? I can confirm it, it's gone. Now, once I've read all my alerts and I've acknowledged that I've seen them, I don't have to delete them. Either I've deleted them or I've acknowledged them all. Sorry, my screen's a little small here, so it keeps flipping me back up to the top. once I've acknowledged them all, you can see that yellow now turns to that black and white. And if new alerts come in, it's going to change color back to that yellow for me. So it just gives me a little signal right there that I have new alerts that I haven't read. But the real power of this is I'm not having to go through all my emails and figure out what's going on with each call. You know, this is one that would ultimately be pushed out to the technician, right? The part's been received per call. So instead of getting an email from the technician, they can go in and see the alert that the PO has been received today and it's linked to a service call. They can see what service call it's linked to and click on it to get more than just the service call number, know who the customer is, look at all the information, and go that route. So like right now, this is only available on the remote manager, but it will be pushed out to the technician side. But there's a ton of alerts that managers get on a day-to-day basis, and managing those out in the field is very difficult off of a cell phone or something like that when you're dealing with emails, because you don't want to delete every email that you get, and maybe you just want to mark it as read, but in the field it's not always the easiest, and then I'm having to leave my email and go into remote tech or go onto a VPN and look up the information. Now I have it all in one easy to use, one consumable spot. I got 2 calls right here that closed that didn't meet the sanity checks, where the tech was had 5 hours of response time. That's not the sanity check maybe, but maybe it's that they worked over 4 hours. If I know, hey, that's good, maybe I want to shoot an email to the technician, I can click on the button, launch the email, send an email right to them, with all the information already attached. I can still mark off that I saw it, it's all good, we go on our way. So it really brings the power of CEO Juice out to the field for that field manager to be able to affect his day without having more barrage of emails, right? I mean, I think the big problem with alerts is that we get so much email already, and now we're kind of doubling up. So this allows you to put it in that queue, deal with it when you can, and then discard it as you need it. So, are there any questions?
Yeah, so thanks, John. Let's take a look at Gary, Mike. You may see some questions out there, Brandon, that you might want to comment on at this time.
So the real power of this, again, is that we're not having to send emails for the CEO Juice stuff. It's, cleaning up that mailbox and managing, those alerts for us so that we're not having to increase the amount of mail that we get in a day, right? And really giving you the power also to act on it right away. Before, when you get the information, you're having to go back and look at a different system. Now I can go in, log in, I see that information, I can go right to the call and deal with it from right there. Maybe I want to reschedule it, push it off to another person, lock it, maybe I want to put it on hold, whatever I want to do. All those functionalities that are already in the remote manager are now accessible through the CEO Juice alert.
John, let me take a quick poll real quick.
Sure.
Thank you. So this is something that we're interested in, just to see how people. There's been a pretty lively discussion on the LinkedIn board about supervisors or dispatchers who's moving calls around. So.
I see one question on here that's pretty easy to answer. It's whether or not CEO Juice is an add-on or is it included with the remote manager. It is an add-on. You have to be a customer of CEO Juice and Tech AnyWare to have both functionalities.
Okay, we're almost there on our poll questions. Thanks, everyone. It's trending very heavily to all of the above.
And somebody asked here, do you have to set up rules in Outlook to push the alerts to the RSM? No. You're going to set that rule up in your CEO Juice alert when it gets originally set up. You know, when you go to CEO Juice, you have that page for setting up your alerts. You're going to go to that page, and instead of email, you're going to select send to RSM.
Okay, I think we're about there. I'll close that poll out. Okay, looks like 82% are all of the above. Okay, thanks everyone. Okay, out in the comments and questions, are there any other that needs to be addressed there, anyone? Any of the panelists?
Somebody asked if there's a per license fee. The remote service manager has a per license fee. CEO Juice is not a per license fee, it's a per company fee.
John, how are we looking on questions out there? We got a good minute to answer, or how are we coming along with that?
Trying to catch them as they come in. Let's see. Will CEO Juice alerts hit the RSM trigger a notification on the smartphone? The only notification that there is today is that this little button is going to change. That little triangle will change to that yellow. It's not going to give you a beep or anything like that. But when you log in, you'll see it. The idea is that if you're using this as your queue, that this is something you go in and check every hour, every 30 minutes, or as often as you have time to do. You know, just like checking your email. Instead of checking your email, you're going to go check this.
Okay. Well, we're into it about 30 minutes now, and we planned on 30, so we'd welcome all who wants to stay around and ask questions. We appreciate everybody's attendance today. Gary or Mike, did you want to make any comments? Or?
Yeah, this is Gary. I was just mentioned I put a post out there with a LinkedIn discussion group that we're interested in getting some feedback. So those Juice clients out there will know that when you go to sign up for one of our alerts, there's a place to check the box to say you want this to go to the tech or to the text manager or the sales guy, etc. So we're going to have a box for remote tech manager, and we're interested in knowing what alerts you would want to do this. And as a product evolves and we start to see some of the functionality in remote tech, we're going to want to go down there as well.
And just one more poll.
So the question was, does this replace the emails, or do the emails come too? And the answer is, you choose on our site what you want to get. You can say, I want to get, because we'll give you a text message option on some. You can say, hey, I want to get an email and I want to get this, or no, I just want to get the service manager alerts.
Hey, Brandon, this is a question for you, and I'm not sure. Can you log into multiple devices with the same login and use the same license?
Yeah, the license is tied to a named user, not a device. So if you're logging in as a named user, you can use it on whatever devices you happen to have, whether that be the iPad that you're holding, the smartphone in your hand, or the desktop when you get back to your desk.
And it does.
Yeah, we've got. Sorry, John.
It does run continuously, right? It doesn't log out after a certain amount of time?
It'll log you out after, I believe it's 24 hours is the default value. As long as you're using it at some point, if you reused it in the morning, it'll renew that login and extend it for another 24 hours. And so you may need to log in Monday morning, but throughout the day, it'll just keep you logged in.
We've got look like several questions about how the product is priced. It's sold on a named user basis. It's a subscription type license, which is a departure from what you were used to with remote tech. So it is on a month-to-month basis. It's $30 per named user. If you want to get a little bit lower rate and save yourself about $60, it's $300 per year. So it's a real simple pricing model, and anybody that wants to, any of your managers or whatever, then they would take out a subscription for the product. So it's real simple. Okay, how are we doing on questions, guys?
Looks like we're doing pretty good.
There's a lot we didn't get to, but we should apologize. We had about 150, 160 people, so there's a lot.
Right. So.
I got another question here about the price. Can you say that one more time for him, Charles?
Oh, it's $30 per month. It's a subscription based, and it's a named user. And then if you want to save about $60 a year, you can get a $300 per year rate. So it's $300. Yeah.
Can you throw up your contact information? A lot of the questions are, who do we get in touch with to buy this? And same for Gary. I see some questions in there. Who do I call about CEO Juice?
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't have a slide for that.
Just remember, you still have your survey up, your quick poll survey still running.
I'm sorry.
And somebody asked, do you need a license for Remote Tech and RSM for a service manager? No.
Yes, you actually do.
Oh, you do? Well, not to use the full functionality of it, you do, but you can run it without Remote Tech altogether.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the question. Yes.
Yeah, they asked, do I need a Remote Tech license and an RSM license?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you don't. I apologize. I don't know what I was.
And while we're just wrapping up here, if we still have some juice users, this is Gary. We have a pretty major change to our contract profitability report and alerting system, and we're debating doing a webinar on that in the next couple of weeks. And just if anyone's interested, maybe just post a quick comment in the chat to say yes. So that's ID 150, our contract profit report, and you may want to look at subscribing to that. We're moving to a new process where we don't inundate you with contracts, but try to focus on the ones you need to work.
So there's my contact information.
So if they're interested, Charles, you want them emailing you, correct? Calling you?
Yes, Please.
I see a lot of people saying they're interested on the questions.
Good. Okay, is there any other questions? Are we about ready to wrap up here, guys, looking at the questions?
There's a bunch of questions, but I guess we'll try and get back to them, the ones we
by email or whatever?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we had a large attendance today, and we really appreciate everybody coming out. So, okay, well, then we're going to wrap up. Any questions or anything, shoot an email back to me. And for any of those going to iTex, we hope to see you there.
And we should mention that CEO Juice and Tech AnyWare will be sharing a booth at iTex, so we'll be together there.
Great.
Also a reminder, I did post that LinkedIn discussion group, so again, if you have thoughts on how we two companies can work better together and try to get the information to you in a better fashion, just let us know.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.